Welcome back to MMA Breakdowns and Bets. I'm doing a solo podcast today because my fellow host is MIA. Brandon Olivas, you've done me wrong. If you guys know where he is, DM him, yell at him, like call him, run him off the road. I have a friend who runs off Waymos, and I thought that is the weirdest. I've never even thought of that. And then my buddy was like, yeah, every time I see a Waymo, I like steer into them and drive them and try and run them off the road. I was like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. So if you see Brandon out there, treat him like a Waymo, run him off the road. But if you do damage and there's a lawsuit, don't say that I had anything to do with it. Man, we had a good card last week, UFC 299. Honestly, on the Patreon, we did pretty well. I think I'll have to put a post up. Our dear producer over here, have to put it up, post it, because it was pretty good. I think everyone did really well for the most part. I think Almeida screwed a couple people over because he looked amazing in round one, and then he just went full ass hat and shot in and just got elbowed to his death. Who else? Oh, Gilbert Burns. I think everyone on the planet had Jack Della, and I was the one person who was like, man, Gilbert Burns is going to take him down and control him. And I was right for 14 minutes. And then Jack Della said, not today, Satan, and ruined what I thought was a great pick. But man, Della, he's one of my favorite fighters for a reason. But outside of those two picks, I think it was pretty good all in all. And now we've got another shitty card in front of us. So this is one of those fight night cards at the Apex, which is the worst place in the world. Is soulless. If you guys go there, it's soulless. Like at first it was fun because people try to kill each other. And now and that was the only thing going on in all of humanity was like, COVID was going, nothing was going on. It was like a secret little Street Fighter.
It's like Fight Club.
Yeah.
Underground fights.
Fight Club, Mortal Kombat. It was a thing. You didn't get to do it. You had to stay in your house, but we were in a venue punching each other. And now it just sucks. It's soulless. There's no crowd. It's boring. It's ugh. Anyway, we've got a fight night coming up. Most of these this year have been fight nights so far. And they're kind of like, they're putting together contender fights. Like, hey, we have too many contender guys out and about, so they need fights. And then they're matching up guys who nobody cares about and are kind of fighting their loser goes home type of thing. We've got Gerald Mearshart and Brian Barberina on here. We've got who else? Oven St. Preux on here. I think they're hoping Ovens loses and they can cut him and just be done with it. So, let's get into the card. We've got a lot of fights. I'm going to go through actually most of them. I think there's a couple I won't go through because it's me and I'm not going to go through all of these. What do we have? We have Chad and Helliger and Charlampos Grigaragu. What do we got there? Producer for our odds.
All right. We got Chad at plus 140, and we have what? I'm going to crush these names today, man. Grigoriou at minus 166.
So, and Helliger, first of all, he's a tiny 35er. I mean, he's really small. Our guy, Haley Alatong, fought him. Haley won a decision. And Helliger, for the most part, is relatively durable. Like I said, he's small, and he gets taken down at ease. I mean, it's like a midget falling over. It looks like Ann Helliger. But what he does attack a guillotine as he falls over. Doesn't really get it, but he attacks it. And he kind of shoulder rocks. He's off rhythm. He's off balance. Not really even off balance, just off center. And he will throw a lot, and he tends to come on heavy as people start to fade. And we saw that in the Strader fight. We saw that on his contender fight too, as he just got mauled. I actually thought he lost the contender fight, but it's close. But he kind of is losing. People fade out, and then he comes on and just won't die. Homer Simpsons it. But Grigoriou, whatever the hell his name is, he's not a world beater. First of all, he's going to be bigger, but I actually like he's got a good low kick, and then he's got a good jab cross, and he messes with his jab quite a bit. He'll throw it like we're used to, just a traditional jab cross. Then he'll go like jab to the head, jab to the chest, cross, dip, chest, cross. And he mixes it up well. He got the knockout with his right hand on the Contender Series. prior to that, I mean, he is not beating world-class opponents. I mean, his fight prior to the Contender Series, he fought a guy who was 6-5 and went into the 4th or 5th round before he finished him in a pretty close fight. I lean Gregorio here just out of size and durability. I don't think he's going to death gas, and so I think he's just going to be big enough to do more, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Heliger just outvolume him a little bit. I think the play here is over 1.5 or over 2.5. I don't know if these guys are going to finish each other. I think Gregorio is the upside, especially since Heliger is 37 or 38 now. So I kind of lean that way, but I don't. Gregorio is not bad. There's just nothing overly special about him that I think is going to see him make his way up to the top of the division. But I kind of lean that way in this fight here. Next up, who do we got?
We got Corey McKenna minus 122 versus Jacqueline Morum plus 102.
Man, Amorum's a jiu-jitsu girl. She throws and throws and throws submission after submission after submission after submission. We saw her in her UFC debut get some really easy double legs, just boom, not even locking her hands, barely driving, just times it really well. Sits, I forget. Oh, it was Sam Hughes on the first one. And then she fought, I forget who, Montserrat, and in her second fight, looked amazing in round 1 and just death gasses. Even in the Sam Hughes fight, we kind of knew that she was going to death gas. We knew that if Sam Hughes could get out of round 1, it's a Sam Hughes fight, and Sam Hughes has good cardio. But even in her second fight, she looked great in round 1, less so great in round 2. Then in round 3, she shot in and pulled guard. Against Corey McKenna, I think that's a horrible idea. And McKenna is a good grappler. She's a good wrestler. Her striking is actually really good. She just has the tiniest reach ever. She has like these little turtle arms that just barely move. That said, she fought Cheyenne Vismus and was doing really well in the stand-up, even while giving up such huge reach disadvantage. Good, clean, tight boxing. I don't think the boxing really matters at the start of the fight, but toward the end of the fight, if it's round 3 and Amorum is death gas tired and McKenna's making her get up, I could see McKenna landing quite a bit. I like McKenna here. I think she's going to do all of the right stuff and not get finished. I think Amorum's going to have some moments in round 1 where she's going to be tough. You know, she'll probably get a takedown, might even jump on McKenna's back, but I can see something very similar to the Sam Hughes fight occurring and McKenna coming out on top. If Amorum doesn't finish, she's going to death gas. And I think her offensive wrestling needs to improve a little bit to make sure that she gets some of these takedowns easier when the fights go into the second and the third round where she doesn't have the energy to run through on a double. So I like McKenna here.
Props to you, man, for breaking down a girl fight.
I don't like it. I don't feel good about it. But Brandan isn't here, so somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to step up.
Somebody's got to step up to the plate.
All right, next up, we got Joshua Kulibau minus 162 versus Danny Silva plus 136.
Kulibau here, guys. It's one of 3 fights that I really like in terms of betting on this card. Today is Monday. Last I looked, Kulibau was, what was he? Is it about 200?
Minus 162.
Okay, minus 162, man. I think that's a gift. I think money might be coming in on Silva because I thought Kulibau was like minus 200 or something, which shocks me that the line is going the other way, if indeed it is. Kulibau does the right stuff. He doesn't have a ton of power, but he's got really good movement. He switches stances. He feints, a lot of volume. He does all of the right stuff. He'll throw to the body. He'll offensively wrestle. He's, he's not a great grappler, but he's got good cardio. He does all of the right stuff. And then we've got Danny Silva, who is 8-1. I'm pulling up his record here for us. He is 8-1. He beat Angel Pacheco on the Contender Series. And he lost to Kenan Kawahiwa or whatever out in LFA. And the thing is that he doesn't have the wrestling. He doesn't have the wrestling, and I think he's fine. I think Danny Silva is fine. He's decent. He's tough. He does all of the right stuff standing. But I don't know if the volume is going to be there against a guy like Culibao, who's really tough and who's really good. I don't think Culibao is going to be a top 10 fighter in the world, but I think the only guys who are really going to beat him are going to be top 10 fighters in the world. I mean, we saw that he lost to Tarantula short notice, and then he lost to Lerone Murphy. And Murphy is, I don't think he's quite top 10, but I think he's probably 12, 13, 14 in the world right now. And I mean, Lerone is just a really, really tough guy. And Silva, I don't think the wrestling is going to be there, and I don't think the volume is going to be there for him to beat a guy like Culibao, who is really savvy in really all aspects of MMA. So I really like Culibao here.
All right, next up, we have Ode Osborne plus 150 against Rafael Cavalcante Filho minus 180.
So, man, Philo is good. There's something about him. I think he's got quit in him. And we saw that with the Perez fight last, where he was just eating body punches and laying on the ground and just doing all the wrong stuff. And then I think it was a kick that he caught, or he got Perez off balance. He tripped him. He came up on top somehow. And then he just jumped in, got a head and arm really quickly, and Perez tapped. And I think that was more adrenaline and gassed and just the moment getting to Perez, because I didn't think Filiao looked great right there. I thought Filiao actually looked better in the Mokaev fight. And Mokaev was taking him down and doing stuff. But and then Ode Osborne, you just don't know who you're going to get all the time. He's big, he's tall, he's long. He has good power for a flyweight, and he's got a really good straight left. That's really his go-to. His wrestling is decent. They always like to talk about him wrestling a year in college. That was a small NAIA college. I think he only wrestled 1 or 2 years in high school, but he's decent. He's a fine wrestler. He's not great. But he does the right stuff and he scrambles. And I think Fila is going to have a hard time getting him down and keeping him down. And I think that Odie does all of the right stuff well enough that if he just doesn't get out wrestled again and again and again and again for 15 minutes, I think he can win this fight. And I think the bigger moments are going to belong to Odie. We saw Asu take Odie down and control him and submit him. That was kind of a bad performance, but then we saw Charles Johnson and him just scratching, clawing tooth and nail. And a couple of times where Johnson caught some kicks, tripped him, almost got him down, where Odie just fought tooth and nail. I think I like Odie for the win here. I just don't know that I'm sold on Philo yet. And I think they're both, I don't know. I think they both have some holes in their games, but I think Odie, at least we know what we're getting a little bit more. And Odie was piecing up Manel Cape before Cape got the flying knee. So, I mean, nothing crazy, but I think Odie is good. I think he's just inconsistent. And I think if Odie shows up, the correct Odie shows up, I think he's very good and can win this fight, especially if he lands early on Philo, who wants to lie on his back and, steal some minutes if he gets hurt.
Cool. Moving right along, we got Josiane Nunes minus 142 against Chelsea Chandler plus 120.
Y'all thought I didn't tape this one too, didn't you? But you're wrong. You're wrong, because I did. What were the odds on that really quickly again?
Nunes minus 142 and Chandler is plus 120.
Okay, so pretty close in terms of the odds. Chandler looked bad in her last fight against Norma Dumont. But man, Norma Dumont is a legitimately good fighter. And you look at her and she's just like yoked up, abs down the middle. And she has those big hips and she's hard to take down. And Chandler is Chandler's a Stockton street fighter. I mean, is this fight at 145 or 135? Does it list that?
This fight is 135.
Man, it should be at 185 because these women Chandler looks like she's 185 pounds. Nunez is like 3 feet tall. So none of it makes sense. And we saw Nunez against Bay Malecki and she murdered Bay Malecki. I think she actually retired her. I think it was a concussion situation that really put Bay out, or B Malecki, whatever the hell, however you pronounce these European names. And then we saw her last against Ramona Pascual. And Pascual did okay in a lot of areas at first. And the thing that was telling, though, is that Pascual got a couple of blast double takedowns. And I think if Chandler gets on top, I think it's a wrap. Chandler does have a good top game. She does have good jiu-jitsu. She's mean and aggressive and will ground and pound the shit out of people as well. I think Nunes is 3-0 in the UFC, and people are really down on Chelsea Chandler, but I like Chandler here, and I kind of like her even more at 135 because it means she's had to train more. It means she had to diet. It means she's lighter in weight. And honestly, it means that what is it? Nunes, is that her last name?
Yep.
Nunes is smaller as well, and I think that makes her hips even smaller because Chandler's not a great wrestler. But if you see this in women's fights quite a bit, a lot of these women don't even know how to defend takedowns great or sprawl or do the right stuff, but they just have these hips and these legs that are so powerful that when a non-wrestler hits them, they don't know how to finish. Now you get a good wrestler, it doesn't matter. They're going to turn the corner. They're going to do the right stuff. But you just get somebody who's heavy in the hips and somebody who can't stop the shot or run through the shot. I think Chelsea's going to be able to find her way on top, scratch and claw her way. And she's got a chin on her too. She took a beating from Norma in some moments, ran away from her too. So I like Chelsea for the win.
Perfect. All right, next up, we got Nathan Levy plus 235 versus Mike Davis at minus 290.
This is one of the other fights that I love. Man, I posted this yesterday on the Patreon. I love Mike Davis, and I wanted people to get a head start on it before podcasts and everything started coming out and money was going on Mike Davis. Natan Levy he's gotten better. He fought Mike Breeden, I think, last. And we saw him death gas kind of a bit against Rafa Garcia and on the Contender Series a bit as well. His cardio is not great. Part of that, I think, is more adrenaline and just the way he sells out on his kicks. He is just whipping kicks like crazy and going nuts. And his wrestling's not great. So when he does wrestle, it's a lot of energy expenditure as opposed to technical movements doing a lot of the work. But he fades out and he's a kicker. And then you have Mike Davis, who's freaking amazing. Watch his fight with Mason Jones, man. His jab is unbelievable. His footwork is unbelievable. His speed is unbelievable. His boxing. But then he mixes in these takedowns and he will just sit people right down in just a perfectly timed shot. And when they fight him, he's lifting the leg up and turning and tripping people and goes pure technical, like D1 wrestling on it. He's got good cardio. Yeah, he faded a bit in the Mason Jones fight, and he fades a bit. But these fights are nonstop output. Anyone on the planet is going to fade a bit, and he pushes it through. Cardio, check. Speed, check. Boxing, check. Fight IQ, check. Wrestling, check. Everything goes the way of Mike Davis. And, man, I don't know how he's going to win. I don't know if it's going to be a finish, but man, I am super, super, super high on the Mike Davis train. I am shocked that this guy is not getting a better push with how good he is. It's unbelievable. His two losses are to Sadiq Youssef and a younger Gilbert Burns. I think Davis is still around 30 years old, 29, something like that. He is unbelievable. If you guys don't know who he is, go watch his last few fights. Really solid. I really like Mike Davis here for the win.
All right, cool. First fight on the main card, we have Gerald Mearskite versus minus 230 versus Brian Barberina plus 190.
This is a throwaway fight, guys. Gerald Mearskite, I mean, he has lost a lot of fights. His MO, he slowed down quite a bit. He's looked bad. He just takes a beating and is there for a submission. He's either knocked out or he's Homer Simpson. He is the Homer Simpson. He's hard to bet on these days. And then you have Brian Barberina, who is funny. You'd think he was 100 years old, but he's actually not that old. He's a striker. His wrestling defense has looked a little bit better lately. Man, I mean, these are two unreliable fighters that I wouldn't touch this in terms of money at all. The only thing I would think is that it doesn't go the distance. I think that Brian's going to win by knockout or Gerald's just going to shoot in and get a submission. Most of Brian's losses are by submission. All of Gerald's wins are by, I mean, of course he won the last fight, he lost the last fight by decision against Petrosky in a fight where they both death gassed. I think Gerald can find a submission. I lean Gerald by submission, but man, I think the fight doesn't go the distance. And these are two guys who are not at the top of their game anymore. And I think I can see the loser getting cut, going home, kind of being a wrap for their career. So they've both had really good careers and really exciting, good moments in their career. But right now, I think these are kind of the shell of both of these men is fighting each other on Saturday night.
All right, cool. Next one, Penier Kianzad plus 164 versus Macy Chiasson minus 198.
You guys didn't think I taped all the women's fights, did you? I didn't tape them all. 2 out of 3 for me to tape on a woman's card. I'm going Macy.
Next up, I wish you would have said that before you made me.
I wanted to hear you butcher the names.
All right, next up, I know this name real well. The homie C-Rod Christian Rodriguez plus 124 versus Isaac Dolgarian minus 148.
So this is another one I'm not going to talk about. You guys know, I don't like talking about people who I've trained extensively or done a lot with. I love C-Rod. He's one of the homies. I never talk about any of the fighters who I've trained extensively in the past. I cornered C-Rod for his first UFC fight. He, was out training with us for, I don't know, maybe a year. Love C-Rod. I hope he wins. I'm on the C-Rod bandwagon. It's up at 145 against a really tough Isaac Dolgarian, who I believe was a 2-time either D2 or NAIA national champion. So that is definitely a thing. C-Rod's as tough as they get. I'm riding with C-Rod to the end, just on a personal level because I love him. But not going to talk about this one. Good luck, guys.
All right, next up we got OSP Oven St. Preux plus 380 against Kennedy Chekwu minus 500.
Chekwu. So it's bad when I'm the one correcting names because you guys have heard me butcher names for years now, especially the Russians. I butcher the Russians' names. But the Kennedy and Chekwus, I don't butcher their names. I'm better than that. I wouldn't do that to you, Kennedy. But Kennedy is fighting a ghost, and that is the ghost of Oven St. Preux, because Oven St. Preux hasn't shown up for a fight in years. I mean, we saw him. Who was his last fight? Let me pull this up. Where are you, Oven St. Preux? You are 26-17. He lost to Philippe Lins in a fight where he just got hit and turned. And actually, Philippe Lins was swinging on him. And I think if Philippe had probably swung for another 10 seconds, he might have gassed himself out. But St. Preux is just covering up, shelling up. And he wasn't really eating a lot of damage, but it looked bad. But then at one point, he kind of ran away to create some space and got hit in the transition. Then before that, he's got a win over UFC Hall of Famer Mauricio Shogun Rua in a fight that the ghost of St. Preux fought the ghost of Shogun Rua, and St. Preux did nothing but front kick him for 15 minutes. It was the worst fight ever. You hated to see it. But St. Preux just doesn't fight anymore. He doesn't do anything. He just shows up. He'll kind of move around. He'll throw his front kick. He'll hope that people mess up, and then he'll be there if they do. And Chekwu is getting better. He's big. He's 6'5". He's a really high guard. He's always been really low volume and done kind of what St. Preux does is just wait for people to get tired and swing, and then he's there ready to fight. In his last fight against Dustin Jacoby, I think he tried to deviate from that and push the pace, and he ended up getting caught because of it. I expect we see him sit back quite a bit. We see this standard in Chekwu, who will throw but isn't going to go rush in and do anything stupid. And by nothing more than trusting in Chekwu more than I trust the ghost of Oven St. Preux, I got to go with Chekwu here. The thing, though, is I could absolutely see a finish, if shit gets wild and crazy, but I could see a dance off. I could see these guys kind of not doing much for 15 minutes and just the busier guy who landed the better punches, wins. So I got Chekwu, but I don't know if I trust over or under on it.
All right. So this next one, we have Thiago Moises. He was supposed to fight Brad Riddle, but that got scratched. It looks like they found another guy, Mitch Ramirez, to take him on short notice. So Thiago Moises at minus 360 versus Mitch Ramirez at plus 295.
See, this is another one. I'm glad that this is one I love Thiago Moises here. So I put this out earlier on the Patreon last night because he was minus like 250 or minus 220 yesterday, something like that. He hadn't shot up as high as he did because I really like Thiago Moises here. Mitch Ramirez is serviceable. He's good. Kind of crouches down in his stance, so he's got kind of a low stance. He looks thick. He looks like a thick boy for a 155er. Nothing glaringly amazing or not about him. He's a decent wrestler. His striking is decent. He has good power. I actually like that when he does get people up against a fence, is he mixes up his body work really well. It's just body, head, body, head. So he definitely loves to do that, pushes the pace there. And he finds ways to win. We saw him in his last fight in kind of a scramble, just came up with a knee, hurt his opponent, rocked him, finished him. I like him. I think Mitch Ramirez is a very decent fighter with pretty good skills. He's fine. But he's fighting Thiago Moises, who is, he's one of those guys who's been top 15 forever. He's really not that old. I think he's like 30, 31 years old, if that, might be 29. He does the right stuff. We saw him against that Costa fight where he shot. It was a bad shot. He got out scrambled, popped back up, took his time, shot again. Didn't get the shot that he wanted up against the fence and kept shooting and changing angles and turning left and right and this and that until he found a foot sweep, got on top and really started doing damage. He knows what to do. And guys who beat him are really dynamic, explosive, good guys. If you beat Thiago Moises, you're probably going to end up in the top 15. And, short notice, I think Mitch Ramirez is probably going to have a very good first round and do well. And he's going to fade out, and then Thiago Moises is going to come on. So I like Thiago Moises here.
All right, cool. The co-main, we have Brian Battle, minus 162 against Ang Lusa, plus 136. Actually,
before we even get to that, I want to touch on Mike Davis again, because one thing that I forgot to mention, because I'm kind of flying through these, because I was talking about Mitch Ramirez's body work, is Mike Davis's body work. He loves a left hook to the body, right overhand. And he will land that again and again and again and again. And I'm curious to see how he does that against Natan Levy, who's an opposite stance. So anyway, just look out for that on a technical level. Just something I wanted to mention, because I think Mike Davis is my favorite fighter on this card, not named Christian Rodriguez. I love C-Rod, but fighters out there, everyone go watch Mike Davis. It is a shame that he's not more of a household name with how good he is. So I just wanted to touch on that body head stuff that Davis does really well. So who do we have up?
So we have Brian Battle at minus 162 against Ang Lusa, plus 136.
This is a close fight. Flip a coin and you've got your winner. Brian Battle, which Brian Battle are we going to get? The one who comes out and is just head kicking people and knocking them out in 15 seconds, like he did to, forget if it was Sato and then Gabe Green. I think it was Sato and Gabe Green. Or do we get the one who just doesn't throw a strike besides a front kick against AJ Fletcher? Or the one who gets taken down by Renat Fabric Medina. And I really like Brian Battle's skill set. He's calm. He's relaxed. He's got good jiu-jitsu. He does a lot of stuff well. But sometimes I just don't know what he's doing. Like that AJ fight, he just gave that whole first round away. And I don't think you can do that with Lusa, because Lusa's not the guy who he was pre-UFC. I mean, we saw him in that Reese fight where he death gassed in the third round. But you're moving a massive human, and he's doing a lot of stuff. I think we're going to see more of the Lusa who fought Lazez and who fought actually AJ Fletcher and just did all of the right stuff. He doesn't leave a lot of openings. He's really... he's got a good chin. He's got a high guard. He mixes his wrestling in. I really like Brian Battle's ability to win, and I love Brian Battle's skill set. I kind of lean Lusa here, And only because the thing with Lusa is I don't know if Lusa knows how he's going to win a fight. I think he's just kind of there, and then he will throw some punches and he's like, all right, I've got a punch. I need to not get punched. But I don't think he's like setting stuff up or really just ahead of the game. And I actually do see that with Brian Battle. But as Battle does that, a lot of times, I think he's giving up moments and time and clock. I kind of lean Lusa here on just volume and being able to steal some moments of pushing Battle to the cage, maybe getting a takedown toward the end of a round. He's at Kill Cliff, so he's sparring with just top level guys all the time. So I don't think the moment is gonna get to him. I lean Lusa. I like Battle. I like him better. Like my brain says Battle will find a way to win. But volume and cardio and just stylistically, I could see Lusa just it's like we saw last week with Basharat and Zahabi. It's Basharat is this unbelievably skilled fighter with this great fight IQ and does all of this stuff well. And Zahabi just stole moments and did enough and just stole the fight. And it was a really close fight. And I think this fight is going to be a really close fight where we're going, was that a Lusa round or was that a Battle round? Who got that? What do we have there? Who's judging that? So I could see a close decision here. I kind of lean Lusa for the volume.
All right, cool. Main event. We have Tai Tuivasa minus 125 versus Marcin Tybura at plus 105.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, actually gentlemen and singular lady, because there's probably only one woman watching this. If you haven't signed up to the Patreon, come join us on the Patreon, chat on the Discord, subscribe. You're getting all of this for free. And all I'm asking in return is you subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on iTunes or Spotify, like the video. It's free. It does it. Come on, help us out here. And then if you want to double down, come on the Discord. It's $25 a month. That's $6 a week. You spent more than that this morning at Starbucks. That's what I got. Come join us. Tai Tuivasa and Marcin Tybura. Tybura, first of all, is 38 years old. Tybura is not a finisher. He's a busybody, and he does a lot of stuff well, but he's a bit of a Homer Simpson as well, where we saw it in one of his last fights where against, who is the ape? Who is Alexander Romanov? So he fought Romanov, and Romanov goes full Romanov and then gasses out, and Tybura steals, round 2 and round 3. Tybura, he will mix up his wrestling. We saw that in the Blagoy fight. And he doesn't go take the fight. He's kind of reactive. He's the opposite of what we saw Sean O'Malley doing at 299, is he's reacting to everything. And he does throw volume, and he has decent cardio, but he's 38 years old, and he's fighting Tuivasa, who legitimately comes to fight. And Tuivasa has good power. He will mix in his body work and his overhands. We saw him land some really good elbows against Derek Lewis. But the biggest thing with me on this fight was, I was like, man, if Tuivasa gets taken down, if Marcin Tybura gets a takedown in Tuivasa, is he just going to lay there? And then we've seen him in the Sergey Spivak fight where he got taken down numerous times. And the first time he got taken down, it was kind of in the middle of the cage, and he ran. He scurried over to the side of the cage with a sense of urgency and got up. And then he got headlock thrown, and he wiggled out, belly down, and got up. And Spivak kept taking him down again and again and again, and eventually won via takedown and submission. But Tuivasa knew to get up. He tried to get up, and he was able to get up again and again and again and again. Spivak is a much better wrestler than Tybura. But I have faith that Ty is going to do the right stuff. And Marcin loses by knockout. He gets finished. He's an older guy. He's 38 years old, and he's fighting a guy who likes to knock people out. So I like Tai Tuivasa here. I think he's gonna run away with it, and I think he's probably gonna end up finishing Tybura inside the bell. So there you have it, folks. DM Brandan Olivas, make fun of him, call him names, all the horrible things that he should be called because he's not here with me. He's leaving me here alone. But honestly, it's much nicer. Like, how do we get this? It's kind of nice over here alone, not being yelled at by that guy. So we'll see you next time. Happy betting. And, whether you join the Discord or not, give us a comment. Let me know your thoughts. Always love hearing them. See ya.